Preeti, let me ask you this. How did you get into the mortgage business?
So as I said, I moved here with my family back in 2000. And around 2002, my parents were they were trying to purchase a property, and they were using a local mortgage broker. And my parents were, I started going to school sooner, so I was speaking a little bit more English than them, and I was quite involved in providing paperwork to the mortgage broker, communicating back and forth with my dad. And it was a very difficult loan because we were really new, our credit was new and all that. And I remember being actually on the loan with my parents because at that time they needed income, and I was doing a minimum wage job, and it was such like a proud moment for me because there I am, like a kid from India, and now you're helping your parents get a loan. So I throughout the process, I guess I communicated effectively, and the mortgage broker, with the day when we were signing loan docs, that's when he ended up offering me a kind of like a job, like a part-time job. He said that, do you want to come to my office and do telemarketing? Because I spoke English and I spoke my language. And then he said that, we work with a lot of people in our community. And I was so flattered. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm getting a job offer where I'm going to be working, like doing loans. Because I was working at, I think Burlington Coat Factory or something, holding clothes. Or Robinson's May, I don't remember where I was working. So that's how I started going into their office in the evenings and started telemarketing, cold calling people. At that time, market was rates were coming down. So 2002 onwards is when mortgage rates started coming down. Markets started getting flooded with a lot of ARM, NEGM products, negatively amortized mortgages and adjustable mortgages. That whole theme around those years was making they were promoting home ownership. Everybody was going out and getting a mortgage and buying a home. Everybody was able to buy a home. And I did that job. I did really well because people were interested in listening. And back then, telemarketing also worked. People were actually fine if you called them and they spoke with you. And then I ended up transferring. At that time, I was at a community college. Then I transferred to my undergrad program. And I picked finance because I was just fascinated with mortgages, the real estate, learning real estate laws, real estate practice. So I'm like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to learn numbers. I want to learn finance. I want to learn economics. So my dad wanted me to be an IT professional because this is what, I moved here from India. Everybody in India was either a doctor or like an IT person,
That's awesome.
Data analyst or whatever. My dad was very disappointed. I actually didn't even tell him for a year, I think, that I was actually going to school. I was enrolled in all these finance and econ classes. He didn't even know. Business law and real estate law, all that stuff. And then at that time, I actually got a job with Countrywide. They were very, very big at that time. They were writing loans left and right. And the department I got was very, very interesting. It was fraud investigation. They had their own QA department where I worked as a junior underwriter, and then I got promoted. I actually became an underwriter. And those were post-closing loans that had already funded. They were checking if everything was right with them. And pretty much every loan that I picked up, something was wrong with it.
Absolutely.
I'm not even making this up.
Wow.
There was not a single loan that was non-fraudulent. Every loan file had some type of fraud in it. To the extent that I had some files where the property didn't even exist. It was a made-up address. Like a lake. We would send our appraisers, our own appraisers out, and they will go and send us this report. Back in the days, emails were very rare. So physical reports came in where they would send pictures of lakes that this property doesn't exist.
Wow.
and those were mortgages that were taken out under borrowers that didn't even know that they had a loan under their name. I mean, any kind of fraud you can imagine, I saw it.
Wow.
It was unbelievable, and everybody knows what happened to Countrywide. I mean, they were, I don't know, fined, I don't know how much, and then I think Bank of America took over their mortgages. But that was like a very, very, I would say, valuable experience I had very early on.
Yeah.
It was my third or fourth year of college. It took me 5 years to do my undergrad instead of 4 because I was working full time, you know. And then, but it was fine, you know. I enjoyed it. And then by 2005, when I graduated, I had already made up my mind. I'm like, I'm going to have a mortgage company, and this is what I want to do, because I was so involved and I already knew so much. And I would sit there and come up with all these marketing ideas. Like, this is how I'm going to talk to people, and this is what they should know, and this is how it should go. So sure enough, I got a chance to, you know, do it full time, and that's how I got started. I lived in, I mean, I have lived in San Fernando Valley pretty much my whole life. So 2005, the market was pretty saturated here. I mean, not close to what we're dealing with right now, but I noticed that there were like a lot of mortgage brokers. So I decided to market in Kern County, Bakersfield.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know, and I was actually the first person there who advertised in their own language. I had a little bit of, like, you know, my own personal touch in those flyers, and I spoke the language, and I was able to break every single thing down. Like, this is what you're signing, you know. Yeah. This is what these papers are saying, because before that they would go into a retail branch or a mortgage broker who didn't speak the language, and you know, just like how my parents went through the process, I saw every first-time home buyer as if it was my parents going through the same process again. Like, you know, this might be their concern. This is their question. I need to explain this to them. So that's how I got started.
That's awesome.
And that's all I've been doing ever since.
Well, we talked to Glenn Stern with Kind Lending. He's the owner of Kind Lending, and he's the CEO and everything. And he said that during his one of the things that he taught is making sure that you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. But then he was telling us like the story of his first year in when he started and launched his mortgage business. And you know, if he said that, you know, if he wished he knew what he knew today, he would not have done it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's just a lot of stuff that goes on into like creating a corporations and huge, and you know, but I think the reason why he said that is because in order for you to get to that top, you gotta go through a lot of pressure. You know, you gotta go through a lot of like pain, you know, to experience, like, a diamond cannot be a diamond without a lot of pressure and a lot of pain, you know? So like, and I feel like he went through a lot of pain, not just like in mortgage, but through all of his life, like career, personal, family, you know, battling cancer multiple times. So yeah. But yeah, I feel like right now, I mean, it's a good time. Let me ask you this, like when you got into mortgage, I mean, you were working for a company and everything, and you were learning all these skills, you're learning all these jobs, and you know, you start developing personal skills such as making phone calls, building connections. You know, did you have like a mentor at that time, or was it just somebody that you're just like more observant, and then that's how no,
definitely it was the same mortgage broker, Sam Molly. He helped my parents get their first mortgage. Then, as I mentioned, I did telemarketing for him, and then I went and became a loan officer at his company. So I worked under his brokerage all the way until 2011. After that is when I went and started my own company. So yeah, he was mentoring me throughout, college, and I did some processing work in the beginning, because you're not just gonna go out and start originating business. So I believe last year of college, after I left Countrywide, after things just started getting a little bit crazy, I did processing for him for 7-8 months, and then became a full-time loan officer. But yes, I had a mentor, and he taught me something very important, which I still follow till this day. And what he taught me was that, don't think about how much money you're going to make. Focus on closing the transaction. Because every transaction you close, that becomes a referral. And those people will remember you. However, if you're just focused on making money, you may not care about closing something where you're not making that much of money, which I, till this day, to me, it's very important that if I tell somebody that, yes, we will get you into a home and we are going to get your loan closed, it is very important that I honor that, know. And that's where I think I had a little bit of a different mindset than other people, as I mentioned, like Bank of America and other mortgage brokers I have gotten to know over the years, that their focus is always making on money. And to me, it's like, well, I don't want to come across as that, I don't know what I'm doing, because I definitely do know what I'm doing. However, I think that a lot goes into closing a transaction. And if your intention is clear that let's get this done, you're not going to get sidetracked, because there are so many situations where people's financial situation can change even during a transaction. They thought they were expecting to get a certain amount of money, and now they have less money to put into the down payment. Their closing costs can go higher. Their scores dropped, FICO scores drop, and there's not that much of it's a lot of stuff. So what I'm saying is that I was fortunate enough to have a mentor where he kind of taught me that doing quality work is important in the long term, in your long-term success. And I learned that very early on in my career. And I also had Countrywide's example that if you're just going to, and because that's what they were focused on, short-term profits. It's a, I started very later on in my life, about 2.5 years ago, I started a master's program. And when I'm writing my grad school papers, and now I'm able to see what all these companies were doing when I look back. At that time, it wasn't that clear because it was just, happening at the moment. But now you realize that, this is what these mortgage companies do. They just thought that, let's give this person a 2-year fixed or a 3-year fixed. Give them a teaser rate. Who cares what happens 3 or 4 years down the road? So, those examples, I have so many of them.